Hi guys, quick note before we get started. All revenue from this video will be donated to Black Girls Rock, a nonprofit branch of the Black Girls Rock network that is devoted to the empowerment and celebration of Black girls and women through providing mentorship, education, and community. Normally, I wouldn't ask you to not skip ads or anything, but in this case, I would really appreciate it. I'll also be posting a link to the organization in the description in case you would like to donate directly. I did make this video specifically for Black History Month, but remember that Black women and creators deserve our support and acknowledgement all throughout the year. Now, let's get into the video. Barbie. I don't think she needs any kind of special introduction. Since she was first introduced all the way back in 1959, her intention has always kind of stayed the same: to provide children with a powerful and fashionable role model that would inspire their imagination. And throughout the years, she's amassed an impressive repertoire of different fashions, careers, family members, friends, and faces. But despite how much she's changed, there's one constant that seems to follow her around: the fact that she is, well, white. She's a white woman. Barbie's default state has always been a blonde, blue-eyed white woman, but this video isn't about her, not really. This video is about the many ways over the years Mattel has attempted to market Barbie specifically to Black audiences, with extremely varying levels of sensitivity and awareness. So yeah, let's get into it. The first iteration of Black Barbie, per se, wasn't Barbie at all. That honor actually goes to Francie, a character whose original white version was introduced in 1966. She was marketed as Barbie's modern cousin, more reflective of contemporary fashion styles, and essentially a way to just test Barbie's transition into the mod era. In 1967, an alternate version of Francie was debuted. She was given a name that I will not repeat as it is extremely offensive and was outdated even in 1967, so I will be referring to her instead as Black Francie. In any case, Black Francie was curiously not identified as Barbie's cousin the way the original Francie was, despite being identical to her in every single way aside from the darker skin tone. Even the head molds were the same, meaning Black Francie lacked any noticeable black features. This combination of factors, along with the fact that Black Francie was produced in very low numbers, led to poor sales and her subsequent discontinuation in 1968. That same year, however, Mattel introduced two new friends for Barbie: Stacy, who was white and British and only stuck around for a few years, and Christy, who was Black. She addressed a few of the issues where Black Francie failed, including having her own mold with unique features, and was such a huge success that she would actually remain a permanent Barbie cast member well into the mid-2000s. Which, when you think about it, is either a testament to the success and popularity of the character, or a testament to Mattel's reluctance to introduce more Black characters. Unless you count Kara, who replaced Christy for about a year in 1975 for whatever reason. But either way, it's probably somewhat a mix of both. In her own right, Christy was very popular with Black audiences, and deservedly so. 1968 was the tail end of the Civil Rights Movement, and despite their initial clumsy attempt with Black Francie, Mattel, or at least some of the people working there, did seem genuinely willing to push social progress as well as they could in this time. Until barely a decade earlier, mass-produced Black dolls were often extremely racist characters, and even the ones that weren't were still made with a white audience in mind. And Black dolls made for Black audiences faced extremely significant barriers. That same year, though, Mattel also did help two men, Louis S. Smith and Robert Hall, launch their own toy company, Shindana Toys, which is known now for being one of, if not the first company to specialize in producing ethnically accurate Black dolls and incorporating elements of Black culture into their products. They're mostly known today for their Baby Nancy and their Wanda dolls, which helped pave the way for other Black toy makers to break into the industry. There's one more big Barbie example in this time period that deserves her own spot in this video, and that's Julia from 1969. Julia was one of the very first celebrity Barbie dolls, released alongside Truly Scrumptious, who was based on the character from the film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Julia was based on the eponymous character from the sitcom Julia, played by Diane Carroll, and she used the same head mold as Christy. Oh, and one side note here before we move on to probably the most significant Black Barbie. You'll see a lot of pictures of Black Frances, Christie's, and Julia dolls with very bright red hair, and that's actually just due to the oxidation over time. As far as I can tell, all of them were originally produced with dark hair. I don't know, I just thought that was important to mention. Anyways, fast forward to 1976. Enter Kitty Black Perkins, a 28-year-old fashion designer responding to a newspaper job ad that turned out to be for Mattel. Perkins was born in segregated South Carolina and had a pretty modest upbringing. She never owned a Barbie doll until she bought one to prepare for her job interview. When told to design an outfit for the doll she'd bought, Perkins initially made one that was deemed too complex and too elaborate to be mass-produced. But Perkins persisted. After being given another chance, she came into her next interview with 6 separate looks, all of which impressed Mattel recruiters so much that Perkins was hired on the spot, and all 6 looks were produced for Barbie that year. And then, after working for Mattel for a few years, Kitty Black Perkins was given a special assignment: design Black Barbie. Not Barbie's cousin, or a friend, or a celebrity Barbie doll, but Barbie herself. And in 1980, the very first Black Barbie made her debut. Perkins approached the design with an extreme amount of care. She designed Black Barbie to be reflective of Black beauty standards rather than the Eurocentric beauty standards Barbie was pretty well known for, giving her a Diana Ross-esque disco-inspired outfit and a short natural hairstyle that was reflective of one Perkins had herself at the time. The first Black Barbie was met with a mostly positive reaction, and Perkins would go on to work for Mattel for more than 25 years, becoming one of the most iconic and legendary Barbie designers in Mattel's history.
It wasn't difficult. I was the first Black designer at Mattel, and now we do have 2 Black designers at Mattel. But what was fun for me is the fact that I think people here realize that I did have the talent, and by having the talent, you don't have to push for yourself. It kind of automatically comes to you, and that's kind of the situation that I've been put into, in that I have climbed to the top because I am the top of my position.
By the time she retired in 2002, she held the prestigious title of Chief Designer of Fashions for Barbie. And as for Black Barbie, she would become a mainstay. Starting after Black Barbie's debut in 1980, a lot of major Barbie releases would have an alternative black version. These would usually be single or special releases like the Holiday Barbies, or later on the dolls based on Barbie movies as well, or lines that didn't already include Christy in the lineup. However, in stark contrast to Perkins's original vision of Black Barbie, these were identical to their white counterparts in terms of hair and dress. And this would extend to Christy as well, who at best would be given a unique color scheme, but otherwise she had very little to differentiate her from Black Barbie. A lot of Christy releases around this time are actually misidentified as Black Barbie and vice versa. Despite the barriers broken by Christie's and Black Barbie's original releases, they were more or less becoming secondary characters to Barbie herself and continue to reflect her very Eurocentric standards of beauty. The movie dolls were an especially unfortunate case because they were dolls of a character that didn't even appear in the movie. The main character would always be White Barbie. And a handful of other Black characters would be introduced over the years too, such as Dee Dee from Rockers, Belinda from Sensations, Stacy in the Jazzy lineup, but these all more or less held the same implications as Christy and Black Barbie during this time. There were a few more attempts made by Mattel over the years to combat criticisms brought on by this, and to meet the demand for more ethnically accurate black dolls. One such was in 1991, with the launch of the Marvelous World of Shawnee, which is not technically a Barbie line, but it also kind of technically is. The line was the product of research by Dr. Darlene Powell Hobson and Dr. Derek Hobson, who were hired by Mattel and conducted a study that concluded that black children found white dolls to be more attractive than black ones. In response, the dolls were designed as an effort to more accurately represent black culture and to give black children positive role models, possibly on the scale of Barbie. Also designed by the legendary Kitty Black Perkins, the Marvelous World of Shawnee featured 3 characters in varying skin tones and hair textures: the eponymous Shawnee and her friends Nichelle and Asha. The dolls also had slightly shapelier bodies than a regular Barbie, though not by much, as Mattel still intended for Shawnee dolls to be able to share clothes with Barbie dolls. The line was not at all unsuccessful and had a pretty warm reception, but was very short-lived. It only received 4 total waves before being suddenly cancelled in 1993. Shawnee was adapted into the Barbie line, and the face sculpts and body from Marvelous World of Shawnee would become pretty widely used within Barbie as well. It's speculated to be due to low sales, but a solid reason has never been given for exactly why Shawnee was discontinued. In 1994, Mattel would make another attempt to reach the black community with Asha African American Collection. Again, these are officially considered separate from the Barbie line, and despite sharing a name with one of the characters, is separate from Shawnee as well. Asha dolls separated themselves by featuring fashions that referenced African kente cloth, but was even more short-lived than Shawnee, not even lasting a full year. Now, fast forward about a decade. Our good friend Christy officially retires and is replaced by Nikki, who was originally introduced in the Teen Skipper line. Not to be confused by Midge's daughter, Nikki, who coincidentally could be black if you got the black versions of Midge in the Happy Family line. But anyways, no one knows why this decision was made or why it was necessary, but it happened. Moving forward a little more to 2009, a new line debuts, Barbie Sew in Style. Much in the vein of Shawnee, it features a cast of exclusively black characters with a wide variety of skin tones and faces sculpted to represent traditional black features. They were designed by Stacy McBride Irby, who was initially hired as an assistant designer to Kitty Black Perkins, and she created Sew in Style as a direct spiritual successor to Perkins' Shawnee line. Sew in Style was relatively successful from the start. Stacy would actually leave Mattel in 2010, but Sew in Style would continue on. Subsequent dolls would feature a wider range of hairstyles, and even dolls with a hairstyling gimmick that changes their hair from straight to curly and back again. Many dolls also featured little sisters of the main characters, and it would grow to feature more characters and their subsequent little sisters over the years, before finally being discontinued in 2017, likely due to the major shift of branding that was happening to Barbie around this time. And I do want to enter a personal note here that I love the Sew in Style dolls. They're absolutely beautiful and some of the best Barbies from this era of the brand, both design and quality-wise. In any case, in true Shawnee fashion, the character Grace from Sew in Style would be eventually assimilated into the main Barbie line via Life in the Dream House, but unfortunately, she only appeared in 2 episodes of the webisode series, and she only got a handful of dolls outside of Sew in Style. In 2015, Barbie would attempt to reintroduce Christy by featuring her in the movie Great Puppy Adventure, which is notably one of the worst Barbie movies. And then she was in this weird exercise set packaged with Barbie. She has not been seen since. But like I said, around this time, Barbie was undergoing a major shift in branding and marketing. The movies and media attempted to rebrand Barbie, the character, as a more average, relatable teenage girl. the dolls themselves stopped relying so heavily on the typical Barbie character and rather began producing a wider range of skin tones, body types, hairstyles, etc., and identifying them all more or less as Barbie. Characters are only named if they're featured in the Barbie media, which means characters like Nikki and Teresa still technically exist alongside some new ones, but they're rarely identified on the packaging of the dolls. And for better or for worse, Mattel didn't really seem to see the need for a black Barbie or a line of exclusively black Barbies at this time. And yet, in 2021, Mattel made the decision to reintroduce Black Barbie, and in a way that was honestly somewhat pretty cool. The movie Big City, Big Dreams introduces Barbie, a girl from Brooklyn who shares the same name as Barbie. The two become best friends, with the implication of course being that Brooklyn Barbie is referential to the Black Barbies of years past, but this time her own fully realized character. She's Barbie, but she's not Barbie, but she is Barbie. And as many complaints as I have with this current generation of Barbie, I do personally think this is one of the better ideas they've had. Brooklyn Barbie will continue to be featured in the Barbie brand through the It Takes Two line of dolls and the upcoming animated series. And that brings us up to Barbie today, in 2022, 63 years after her debut and 55 years after the introduction of the first black character. Obviously, a lot of progress has happened when it comes to the representation of black women in dolls, and we have some amazing black toy makers and designers to thank for that. So here's to hoping for even more opportunity and success for them in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video here, feel free to like and subscribe for any future fashion doll content. Thank you!